Welcome to Agent Tech Talk with Luis Marino and Max Baumgardner, where insurance pros get smarter about tech. Our mission, making technology simple, practical, and powerful for insurance professionals everywhere.
Max, what's going on, man?
Not much, Luis. How are you?
Man, it's a beautiful Wednesday. God, at least let me get yeah, it's a Wednesday. Yes, overloaded, busy as can be. But, man, I am excited that the week is almost over. Oh, craziness. But, man, no, super excited to have you. Man, we have some good stuff. Let's do a little quick review because you were out of town and we didn't get to do the episode 3. But let's go back to episode 1 and 2 and give a little a recap maybe. So episode 1, it was how to leverage your Google business profile. Can you just do a quick summary on that and why somebody should at least have their Google business profile?
Sure, I can. And we also gave a very informative doc in that. So if you go back to look, I think it's on your YouTube page, Luis, under Agent Tech Talk, the lives, right? Is that where that?
Yes.
Okay. So if someone clicks in there, they can find it there instead of just your regular YouTube page. But what it is, I mean, it's so important. You know, if you don't have your Google My Business profile optimized, you're really missing out. In fact, we went into detail in that where we talked about how 50% of insurance professionals in the country do not have their Google business profile claimed. It doesn't mean that there isn't one. It means that they haven't claimed it. Okay. That's a big problem. We won't go into too much detail here because we've already done a whole piece on that. And I'd encourage you to go back and watch it. But that is so important, not just for insurance professionals, Luis, but for any business anywhere in the world. Go ahead and claim that Google business profile, especially for insurance agents. And yes, you can, as an independent agent, if you don't work for an agency, you can set up a Google business profile there as well.
Good. And I'm trying to find the video, and I'm sure that link in case you guys want to go out there and watch that video. But I agree with Max. You guys definitely want to take advantage of that. It's huge, guys. Super important. It's so easy to do. It's
right.
So easy to do. Okay, now let's fast forward to the next week where we talked about SEO. Okay, and if you're looking at this like, what in the world are you talking about? SEO. Why does that matter for insurance agencies?
Well, search engine optimization is critically important for any business. And depending on who you're listening to online, there's a lot of people that are saying, a growing number, in fact, that are saying SEO is dead. It's pointless. I'm not in that group. I'm with the group that thinks that it still matters, and it matters a lot. And it's not easy to do. It's ongoing. It's not a set and forget. So foundational SEO, like what you'd build a new website and set it up so foundationally it's set up the correct way for search engine optimization. That is sometimes set and forget. But ongoing, there's things that you can do. Again, in episode 2, we provide a document that's easy to read. It's simplified, some steps that you can take. One of the things that you can do is you can provide a blog on your website and make sure that you use keywords in your blog. And that's one thing that you can control. Some of the other things are a little bit more in depth. For instance, there's 3 different types of SEO. So there is on page, off page, and technical. The technical would be the website, how the website, just as an example, alt text, alt tags, picture text, for the alt text for the pictures. So you're telling bots that are crawling the internet what everything is on your website. That's the simplified explanation of that. On-page SEO, all of the content on your different pages, like for instance, if you sell Medicare and on your website on the Medicare page, you have as much useful information as you can possibly have, and you refresh it periodically, that's going to help you. Off-page, I would say like backlinks, for instance, listings, which we could get into a little bit at some point again. But if, for instance, if you have Google Maps, you've claimed your business on Google Maps, that's technically that'd be a backlink. Okay, that'd be a citation, meaning that your business, you've claimed your business on that site. Some of the old, like the Dex, those types of companies that had massive databases. Yelp is another one. There's hundreds of them where you can go in and claim your business on all of those. That's what I would call off-page SEO, or just a component of off-page SEO. So again, we did an episode about that. If you have questions, send Luis or I a message and we'll go from there.
Definitely. And guys, you may be like, well, why do I need SEO if I don't even have a website? So this is my pet peeve. Okay. We've recruited over 800 agents at this point, and guys are running their business, but they're still using a Gmail, a Yahoo, an AOL. I even see some AOLs. I'm like, wow. I didn't even know the AOLs were still available. Right. But guys, you need to start playing with the big boys. So number one is you got to have a website. And that's what Max does. Okay. He can, if you don't have a website yet, then, and there's steps to it. You got to go buy a domain, and then, but you know what? Connect with Max. Max, would you do me a favor there on the comments and post your email?
Sure. Yeah, I can do that.
So I will tell you guys, connect with him. He's got 3 different packages. You can choose one of the packages. He can help build your website, a customized website, get you a domain, get you where you're using a professional email versus johnsmithinsurance@gmail.com. I'm like, come on, you should have john@smithinsurance.com. So connect with him. This is what he does. And he's doing it for me. So personal recommendation, he's working on, I have a cookie cutter website. It doesn't do anything for me. I think even Max told me, Luis, you're on page 6. Who in the heck goes to page 6 when they're searching for something? I didn't even know there was a page 6. The ultimate goal is to get there. And then what did you call it? The trio, or the top 3, or
the pack 3, and that's in the first episode that we did, the local pack 3. And there, and I'm butchering the name, the actual name. I call it the local pack 3. So 90% of searches are going to have a local pack 3. So oil change near me. Okay, you do that anywhere you are in the world, on a Google browser, and it's going to pop up like the top 3 places. Okay. And almost 80% of the traffic goes to those businesses that show up in the top 3. So that, to me, is the goal for our clients, is to get them in the top 3. And it does not happen overnight unless you have no competition in your space. Then you can do it literally overnight. But it doesn't happen. And it takes a lot of effort. This stuff, it's not easy stuff. It can be done. Most people can figure it out. But it takes time and focus.
And the reason you want to be in that pack 3 for us insurance guys is we're hoping somebody's going to our site, seeing our information, and filling out a form so that we can contact them and sell insurance.
Right.
That is the ultimate goal. All right. So that's 1 and 2, guys. Go watch those past episodes. I've put the links to the comments, or the links to those 2 episodes on the comment section. Now let's get into some technical stuff. Okay. SEO versus AEO.
Right.
And what this is meaning, guys, is getting found by clients.
Right.
And you also have smart devices. So at this point, you're kind of already above me. So Max, let me know if we need to share your screen, and I'm going to let you take over, because this is some really good stuff here.
Let's go ahead and share the screen. That's fine. So basically, think about it like this. Search engine optimization, SEO, that is your efforts to get your website up to the top of search results. Okay. That's the simplified version of SEO. So you and everybody else in your space, you're fighting for keywords, which end up being search terms. So homeowners insurance, click, hit enter. You want to hope that you have all of your keywords maximized first and foremost. That also is a big job. And if you can't do it yourself, there are tools available to help you. Even Google offers a free tool if you have a Google Ads account. But to stay on track here, SEO, search engine optimization, is dramatically different than answer engine optimization. You might be like, well, why is that? Well, one is an answer. The other is a list. So SEO is a list. AEO is an answer. So just imagine if, health insurance near me. Okay. And yes, there's some carriers involved in this game, and some of those carriers do really well. But let's say that somebody wants a local insurance agent, and that local insurance agent has spent a lot of time and done a lot of the most SEO work that they can possibly do to have a solid foundation. Well, there's a much better chance that particular agent's going to show up as the answer. Okay, as the answer. So I'm thinking, for most people, they're going, "What are you talking about? The answer?" Well, just think about Siri and Alexa, just as an example. Some of the GPTs that are coming on, AI that's coming on. You could ask the AI, and more people are doing that now for everything, not just Google searches. I mean, they're not going to Google for their searches. They're using AI for their searches. But if you ask Alexa, health insurance agent near me, okay, that's going to be AEO, all right? Because it's going to be the answer. Alexa's not going to typically provide you with a bunch of answers. They'll provide you with the answer. And that's going to be more and more the case by the end of this year. We're taping this in 2025. That's going to be more and more the case. So you actually need both. You need SEO, a solid foundation there. Make sure you checked all the boxes. Obviously you want a Google business profile. Obviously you want your website to be maximized for what you do. And you want to be doing a blog, those sorts of things. Okay. You want to have backlinks to your website, all of those good practices. That's going to be the building blocks for AEO. And, SEO is changing, and all the agencies and insurance people need to get on board, because it's not going to be something that's going to change back and go backwards. It's going forwards very fast. So I leave anything out there, Luis?
No, that's good. And you're right. I ask Alexa, I'm at home, I got Alexa. I do ask Alexa, my typical one is, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow? And so you're right. It's giving me an answer. I haven't tested it out with Alexa. What is a deductible?
Right.
And see what it pops up. Or, hey, I've never thought of doing that, but that's interesting.
Right. And so if you have, and going back to the first and second episodes that we did here, there's ways to put in questions on your Google business profile. So yes, people can ask you questions. If they find you on your Google business profile, people can just ask questions. Hi, Luis, what kind of insurance do you sell? Okay. Well, you can do that yourself too. And Google does not frown on that, meaning you can ask a question that lives on your Google business profile, then provide an answer. Okay. So hopefully that made sense. You don't have to just wait for someone to ask questions. You can do your own. And so that's one of the things that we do for our clients. We absolutely pack their Google business profile. I mean, pack with questions and then answers that are relevant. So anyway, but getting back to this, if you've got poor SEO, you're going to have poor visibility, but the double whammy for that, you're going to have poor AEO. Okay. So it's important to get the SEO right now. A lot of people think, no, you can't do it. There's nothing that can be done. The people that did it a long time ago are always going to have the leg up. Okay, that would be true if they're constantly adding fresh, usable content. But I would encourage you to go to the websites in your own market and look at their website. Is the content that they have useful, or is it cookie cutter? Could you make your content better? Could you talk to people in plain English or Spanish or whatever language in a way that they want to get information? Okay. Instead of trying to, for 25 years, we've served people with excellence, blah, 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 blah. How about get right to the fact, get right to a question that somebody might have, And we talked about this in a previous episode too. I would encourage everybody to kind of tell their whole staff, keep track of the questions that you're getting on the phone or in email or on Google My Business if you get some, or in your contact form on your website. Keep track of those questions, and make those questions content. It really is that simple. People just look over that and they don't think that it's that simple. It is that simple, because who's going to know the answer? You are. You're the insurance professional. So most insurance agencies still struggle to rank in local search. Luis, in his example, as a farmer's on the P&C side of his business, that he just for a couple of keywords for the services they provide wasn't even, I don't know what it was, Luis. I thought when we did it in an incognito browser, it wasn't even in the top 10, right?
No, not even close.
Okay. And, and farmers insurance, I mean, you think they've got some backlinks? When I did a report for Luis, it's really healthy. It's really healthy. And then he's got almost, I think, 600 5-star reviews on that right. Particular Google My Business or Google Business Profile. So all of it helps. A lot of people think, well, if I just get Google reviews, I'm going to be fine. That's like a spoke in a wheel on a bicycle. It's one thing. There's a lot of things that you need to do correctly to really move the needle. So here's something else too, like we talked about briefly, examples of AEO ready content. Examples of AEO ready content. Okay. Frequently asked questions. Okay. If you have FAQs on your website, good for you. If you don't, talk to your web developer, make sure you get them on there. And so, on your page about Medicare, let's say, or ACA, make sure you have ACA questions and ACA answers on that page. FAQs. Okay. They're huge. This is something that you can do right now. Because as the bots crawl your website for this information, if you have the information and your competition doesn't, guess who wins? Right. So, and then featured snippets. So you could say, well, what's a featured snippet? If you do a Google search and there's little answers at the top, and I should have made a slide for it, probably should have made a slide for it. Sometimes you can see little featured snippets are basically answers to your questions. Well, you have to have the featured snippet. It has to live somewhere. Okay. So it can live on your website. It can also live on your Google Business Profile. Again, questions, answers. So your goal is to get as much information that's useful to Google's customer. Google's customer, they want their customer to have a great experience. They're out with that. Yes, Google plays games. Some days I hate Google. Other days I love Google. Some days it's a little of both, but it's needed. And 90% of searches are done on Google. So, make sure that stuff's right. Structured data. We've talked about this real briefly. Make sure you have the basics right everywhere and the same. So, there's a little example of structured data there on the screen. I don't know. Do you have any questions so far, Luis?
No, we do not. But I want to add to this and indicate. And guys, if you're watching, post your comments. If you're watching this and it's not the live, post your comments down below. And what I'll do is I'm the only one that responds. If I know the answer, I'll give it to you. If I don't, I'll ask Max and then get him to respond. But you brought up a good point. So the point that I liked is ask, what questions. So, guys, if you're not using some of the AI tools that are out there for us, for example, I love Chat GPT. There may be others, but it is like my best friend, Max. You're right there, man. But Chat GPT, God, dude, I go on here and literally you can just get the free version and type in this. Okay, you want some questions. Let's say you can't think of any questions.
Right.
You can go on there and just say, I am an insurance agent. I am needing some frequently asked questions about healthcare, more specifically Obamacare,
right,
that clients have. That's it. Okay. In fact, you know what? Nothing beats a live demo. Let's go on here. Let's just do this real quick before we move forward. So let's share my screen, and I'm going to share the chat GPT. Okay, so here you guys, you are looking at this thing. So I'm going to go in there. I am an insurance agent selling ACA. Oh, mine doesn't even have to be perfect. Okay. I want to build out a frequently
FAQ. Yep.
asked, frequently FAQs, let's call that FAQs section on my website that insureds might have. Can you give me examples of questions and answers?
Right.
Let's cheat. We're gonna cheat. We're gonna cheat all the way, man. All right, here we go. What is ACA?
Yeah.
How much does an ACA plan cost? What is the subsidy? How do I qualify? When can I enroll?
Right.
Can I get ACA for my children?
There you go.
Are my doctors and prescriptions covered? Do I have to apply through healthcare.gov? Will I be penalized? Can I change my plan? I don't go to the doctor much. Do I really need insurance? I mean,
Right.
Man, it just, what, I don't know, 10 questions just without, that way you're not having to sit there. I mean, if I had to think of these, man, I'd get smoke coming out of my ears.
Right. Well, and here's the other thing to add to that. Excellent example, by the way, Luis. But another thing to add to that is you can further prompt GPT. I actually paid the $20. I think I've got Chat GPT 4.5. I think it is up to now. Plus, I have a Claude.ai account, and Claude's a little bit different. Same basic output, but Claude's a little bit different. Sometimes I like the answers better on Claude, sometimes on Chat GPT. And then is it, Elon's Grok, right? So, there's different ones that you can do. But with that Chat GPT, one of the things you can do is you can further prompt. So you could add to what Luis just did, add in your answers, my agency, so basically answer from my agency's perspective, add a contact number in the response, so they can click a link or a contact page or whatever. So you can do those sorts of things in the answer if you choose to. The only caution that I would give everyone that's watching this is make sure you read the responses, because sometimes ChatGPT is still a little bit wonky. So you don't want to give somebody the wrong information. But sometimes, very few times, I've had to just kind of massage the answer a little bit. For the most part, it's pretty good though, and it just saved a ton of time. So
you know what, and you are right on that. I'm going to go back to that question. I also do pay. Where is this? It should be here. But I think if I come on, give me my history. Where is my history today? Okay, here we go. So on the section where it says, will I be penalized? Okay, no, it did give me the answer. There's no federal penalty for being insured. I think I did this once and it gave me an outdated answer. So
right.
Yeah, you have to be somewhat knowledgeable and you have to double check the AI to make sure it's not giving you a wrong answer.
You can also do something if you want to get, this is something you could try. You could scrape the CMS website. So you could just copy a section off the CMS website and then paste it into the ChatGPT. And you could say at the top in the prompt, you could say, make this a Q&A section for my website, for my insurance agency. And in the responses, you see what I'm saying? So you can do that sort of a thing and then paste the content that you took from the CMS website. So, I mean, just something that you can do. And then obviously be careful, read through the answers just to make sure that nothing was changed. But, those sorts of efforts go back to what we were talking about, being AEO ready. You want to have the answer for answer engine optimization. You want to have the answer, right? You want to be the answer is what I should say. Right. And the only way to do that is make sure that you have content, content. If you're like everybody else in America, come to us for all your insurance needs. Oh my gosh. Wow. Who's you're just saying, hey, I'm a lazy insurance agent. That's what you're saying, but if you dig in and spend some time, or somebody on your team spend some time and really think about it, really think about what are the most asked questions. And then Luis just showed you a brilliant tool or a brilliant hack to use. But here's a couple of things to get AEO ready that we talked about before. Again, there is a document that we provide for you for this, kind of a hack, a little cheat sheet that if you find it useful, fantastic. You'll just have to give us your email address and your name, and we'll get that over to you. Optimize your Google business profile. We talked about that in episode 1. Do it. Just do it. And if you don't know how to do it, go back to episode 1. We talk about it and walk you through it, plus give you a sheet. Use clear conversational language in the Q&A, which we've already talked about. You don't have to sound over the top. It doesn't have to be college level reading. Just answer questions. Ask simple questions in your Q&A and give a simple answer. That's what people are looking for, is answers that make sense. So improve page speed, schema markup, and mobile usability. So that's that third bullet there. That's for some people, that's not going to be possible for them. Okay. They're not going to do that, but whoever handles your website should be able to do that. If they can't, then you might want to look at having somebody else, give you a second opinion, if you will. If you go to my website, by the way, maxoutcreative.com, you can get a free report on your website. All right. And I think somebody did in one of the first episodes. And then also Luis has. That'll just give you a quick snapshot of the health of your website and some useful information. Make sure your agency answers real questions on your website as much as possible. So that kind of is, we've already said that a few times in different ways, but it's very clear that, all of us have this innate sniff test. You can tell if somebody's, and Google's no different. Neither are Google bots. So if they feel like your website's just stuffing keywords, which was you could do that 15 years ago. You could just put all of the keywords like white font on a white background and you can rank. Okay? Google's smart enough to know that that's not going to work. So you have to talk to people in a way that you would talk to a human, and transfer it to text or type on your website, and just, put the question in that a human would ask and give a human answer. That's going to be your best bet.
And guys, I agree. Hey, use ChatGPT, just change it to your language, the way you speak. I like to add a lot of emojis. I don't know if I'm emojing people out, but I love emojis, man.
Me too.
So ChatGPT is just awesome. Cool.
Yeah. Well, because you can, with sometimes with a text message or an email, I think we've all misread them before. And maybe we think that somebody's either upset or they're frustrated or whatever, and maybe they aren't at all. Because we're reading a text and we're trying to interpret what they said. I agree with you, Luis. I feel like a smiley face or a thumbs up or something always, maybe even if it's subconscious, kind of lightens it up a little bit, saying, hey, I'm excited to give you this answer, and thank you for asking me. So like I said before, start where you can here. Anyone should be able to do a blog. And if you can't do a blog, Luis just showed you a way to do a blog. So in the prompt, ChatGPT or whatever language model you're using, just go ahead and say, help me write a blog on this topic. I'll tell you something that I do. I say, I will go with the first ChatGPT. I'll say, what would be a great blog title for my agency, and make it SEO friendly. Okay. Well, then it'll give me a list of like 10 or 11. And then I'll say, I want to use this one. Give me 3 to 5 keywords, relatable keywords that I can use in the blog, and give me a blog. You give me 1,000-word blog or whatever. Okay. We can do that. We don't just do it that way for all of what's that? We don't just do it that way for all of our clients. We do a little bit different version of that. We use a tool called at searchatlas.com. I don't have any problem telling people that. But we do write some blogs with AI. And like I said before, Google's smart enough. If you're trying to just put keywords in a blog, they know it, and you can actually get penalized for it. Okay. So you have to pay attention and make sure that your content's useful. Okay. That's the biggest key. Think about Google's customer, not your customer. Think about Google's customer. If you take care of Google's customer, Google's going to take care of you. That's how it works. Scratch their back, they scratch yours. But FAQ pages, naturally snippet friendly on those. And then a Q&A section on your service page, on your service pages, meaning, if your service is auto insurance, then make sure you have a Q&A specifically about auto insurance on the auto insurance page. ACA, same thing, whatever. So hopefully everybody understands what I'm saying there.
Oh, yeah. So we got 2 people that joined us. Put some comments there. Mike, hey, welcome. James, hey, glad to have you, man. Yeah, whenever you're ready to join the program, man, just let us know. We'll gladly help you out.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. That's right. And so, here's what we talked about before. If you want a free, it's not a super in-depth report. We can provide that for you too. That's a different service that we offer. But this report here, if you want to just go to my website, this is a little snapshot of the website. And, that middle section on the home page, if you just go there and put your URL in there, no one else gets it, just so you know. We don't resell your information, none of that weird stuff. But I will get notification that you filled it out. If you want me to follow up with you, I will. If you want to just have the information, don't want to be bothered, that's fine too. But it'll just give you a little bit of a kind of a health check, if you will, on your website.
Hey, Max, I lost you there. Are you still there, Max?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. I had a little glitch on my computer. That was odd.
That's all right.
Man, I was hoping that did. But
yeah, I heard it go silent, but we should be okay.
Yeah, no, we're good. Yeah, and I did that on mine, and I didn't get a good report on mine, unfortunately.
Right, and that was and to be clear, you've got more than one with your. I mean, you have different businesses, but you're talking about which one were you talking about?
I did my TX agency, and it didn't rank up very well. And guys, ultimately, the reason I asked Max to come join us and come talk about Tech Talk is that us agents, we're focused on product, we're focused on selling. But if we could find a way to leverage a website to get us more clients, then why not? And then what I started doing, Max, my website, it's a cookie cutter website. I mean, it is outdated. The colors aren't very attractive. I'm like, I guess back when I did it, it was nice, but now it's like, it looks like a piece of crap. Ultimately.
Well, like you said, Luis, and I think probably there's a lot of people that feel the same way. I consume some of your, your videos on your YouTube channel. I think you do a great job. But I've heard you say before, I just use my website basically as a brochure, and a lot of people do, and that's okay. But I'm here to tell you that, even with blogs, think of a blog not as something somebody's going to go read. Okay. Because how many of us actually read blogs? Think about that. Okay. Some people might be saying, oh, I read every blog, but some people don't. But if that information is in a blog living on your website, it's being crawled by bots. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So all of that information, especially if it's useful information, could turn up as useful information. You could become the answer for answer engine optimization. That's what the goal is here. There's no guarantees, but to just take a baseball bat and just, whack at it and just be done. Just, try it one time or two times or three times and say SEO doesn't work. you're right. It won't work that way. Fresh content is the key. At least once a month, fresh content is the key, useful content, and easy language. Common sense language. You don't need to talk over somebody's head or get too technical. You just need to answer human questions with human answers.
Right. I'm with you 100%, Max. So Mike asked a question, or not a question, but made a comment that he's got a guy with Insta, so social media, but doing stuff on social media, kind of not what we're talking about, right? I mean, social media and your website, I guess you could use social media to tell people about your website and send them there.
Yeah, we can do let's do something on social media coming up, and I'll give some facts. I think everything you do online is good as long as it points back to, if you're pointing back to your website, I feel like that's good. And somebody can correct me that knows more than me, and there's a ton of people who know more than me, just about everybody. But I can tell you that, that I feel like that's a little bit of a backlink. So if you make a Facebook post, for instance, and you put your website there, I feel like that's a backlink. I feel it's not going to move the needle, but every little bit of stuff credibility on a website or on a social media post, no matter what platform, that points back to your website, I feel like that's going to be good for SEO and ultimately AEO, what we're talking about here.
Yep. And then Mike also asked, do you build out campaigns? And, I guess, when I look at that question, I'm thinking, hell yeah, I build out a ton of campaigns on my CRM, but not a website. Well, how would you respond to that, Max?
Well, Mike, if you're talking about say social media campaigns, we do. With social media campaigns, I feel like there's different levels. Okay. How I feel is that there's a level of just basically a post, maybe it's, for instance, somebody's work anniversary. And on LinkedIn, you wanted to say, hey, Luis has been with us for 26 years today. And there's Luis smiling in his, agency shirt, that would be for LinkedIn specifically. But that post wouldn't be as good on Facebook unless it's on the Facebook business page. So I feel like we need to do a whole, and maybe we'll do that coming up here in a couple of weeks, but really get into it. There's a difference between posts to me and authoritative posts that really offer something of value. Okay. And a lot of people live in they're just posting, and here's another little tidbit for everybody. Make no mistake. And I could source this, and maybe in that I will when we do that episode. Lifestyle posts are way more effective than just, sitting behind a desk and saying, hi, I'm Mike, the insurance guy. For all your insurance needs, call me. Say you're doing a video or a reel. Okay. That's not going to be as well as if Mike's out at the ball field with his son, and they got their gloves on and they're in casual clothes. And it's like, hi, my name's Mike. I'm an insurance agent here in town. If you need something, I'd love to help you. Right now I'm playing ball with my son. Have a great weekend. That kind of stuff, the lifestyle kind of posts like that, there's irrefutable proof and data that says that does better on social media for obvious reasons, right? We all get bombarded with commercials all day, every day. Someone trying to sell us something all day, every day. But when you get to peer into somebody's life that's just human being, and yeah, they said what they do for a living, but there he is standing on the ball field with his son, or even if it's just a picture of him and his son, and there isn't a video, but in the caption, you say it. I mean, lifestyle posts work way better.
Yep. I am with you. In fact, I did one. I was in Costa Rica, and I remember sitting on the beach. My wife's out in the water. I'm laying down. I've got a couple of pina coladas in me, and I grab my phone. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk about some insurance, and those videos did so cool. I was on the beach. I got a lot of thumbs up. I don't know. I can't remember if I got business out of it, but at least on the social media side, it got a lot of traction. So why not? It would be cool. You're right. Hey, if you're interested, hit me on my website, and post a link on there. Here's my website. I'd love to help you out. Got to go. Hey, there's the lifeguard's chasing my wife. I got to go get, take care of business.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But I agree with you. I agree with you. And maybe we didn't answer Mike's question. The short answer is yes, we do that for our clients, but there's different levels. So, if you're just doing posts, that doesn't take much effort, but if you want to do authoritative posts in your space, that does take more effort. And then you need to tweak it for every platform. Facebook's different than LinkedIn. LinkedIn's different than TikTok. TikTok's different than Insta. It's all of those platforms are different. There's a subtle difference. And people who just use one of these, like I used to use Cloud Campaign. I know HubSpot, there's a couple of different companies you can use to kick out different posts, to different platforms. Right. But there's a lot of people, myself included, guilty as charged. My son and I work together. But there's a lot of people that just kick out the same post to every platform. And then they wonder why there's no traction. Well, it's because you're trying to put something on LinkedIn that shouldn't be on LinkedIn, as an example. So.
No, I agree. I use a different software called Opus, where I take a video, I load it up into it, and then all of a sudden it gives me clips that I can use on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, which is cool. And now it's giving me traction on those sites. I lost my camera there, Mike. I'm coming back.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you're gone.
I'm here in spirit. Okay. Just changing out a battery. But guys, hey, Max, do we have anything else that we need to share?
No, other than next week's, we'll get into what we're going to get into next week.
Yes, and let me pull that up when I get my camera going here. Let's see if I can come back live. There we go. Now I'm back in action. Okay, so next week, guys. So we're going to talk about the insurance agency website 101. What every agency site needs to have to convert.
Right.
Okay, so maybe we'll look at some sites, see what Max has got to share with us. But again, I'm going to go back to this, guys. If you do not have a site, okay, or maybe you do, but it sucks. Okay, good. Okay, mine sucks. Okay, it happens. Connect with Max. He's building out my site. I'm asking him to do two. So we're doing a business-to-business site and a business-to-consumer site. Just because I also have a love of training agents, and that is just getting so good. So we're building out two, but you can connect with Max, and he's got different packages that he can share with you. Share with him what you want and see what he can do for you guys. We need to leverage our websites to bring in more leads. Ultimately, that's why I connected with Max. I'm like, Max, I'm doing well, but I want to do better.
Right.
Okay. I want more sites. I told him earlier, I ran late today. I was supposed to be on at 12. I think we got it at 12:10. I'm like, Max, I just hired another person. I've got two more today. So I'm growing my team, and I need to feed my team.
Right.
Okay.
So gotta have leads.
And
the whole goal with this, why we're doing it, why I talked to Luis initially is, I consumed his content on training. I'm actually in his downline for ACA, and just getting started with that. I've been a digital marketing guy this whole time, broadcaster back in the day, then moved into digital marketing in the early 2000s and have been there ever since. And I just recently, I was a CMO for an FMO here in Florida. And I just recently said, you know what, I want to be an agent. Okay, so that's how Luis and I came together. I saw his stuff, so I'm getting trained on him and on his stuff, and I find it fascinating. First of all, my wife's also a licensed agent, and now I'm trying to bring what we have to the table from the marketing standpoint and marry it with all of the great resources that Luis offers. But it's I think it's an exciting business, and I think that I've found that a lot of insurance agencies just are not, they're not utilizing their website, which could result in organic leads. So instead of paying somebody 50, 90, 150, whatever you're paying for these leads that sometimes don't pan out, they're not worth anything. It would be nice if you could develop over several months a lead generator that is organic, organic. I mean, that's what we're going to do for ourselves. And that's what I've helped a couple of other companies do. I even have legacy clients outside of insurance that I just get them leads. That's what we do. We get them leads, on their own website. And how we do that's content. That's how we do it.
No, beautiful. And we'll finish off with this one question that Mike had. PPC. I don't know what that is. You know what that is, Max?
Yeah. Is that he's asking about that?
Yes.
Okay. Mike, how I just determine that is pay per click advertising. So we would do, and we're very specific on the ones that we handle with our clients, but we handle the Meta or Facebook advertising. We handle the YouTube advertising, and we handle Google advertising. So those three we handle. We've done some others on other platforms. We're not into the TikTok side of things yet. I have apprehensions there, but there's no denying how popular TikTok is. And I would encourage everybody who could do some content on TikTok to do content on TikTok. But as far as those pay-per-click management, so those search ads, we manage those for clients. Hopefully that answered his question.
Cool. Yep. I should know what PPC is. Well, now I do. Jay Nova's asking, how much would a website cost? Mike, Max, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so with our websites, the package that we offer for Luis's clients, we can do one. It's $500 down, and then it's $200. It's a little bit less than $200. $199 a month. Okay, and there's no contracts for that, but that's what it is. And for that, we handle. We give you 30 minutes of updates every month, which would be, you could say, hey, we're going to add this content to these pages, and we'll put it up for you. Or you could say, hey, we'll, we need help doing that. Can you help us do that? The obvious answer is we can. But $199 a month is where it starts. Then we have other packages that go up from there. But we take care of your listings too. We need to do an episode on listings. That's really important. That's really, really super important. Listings meaning like everywhere online where your business could conceivably show up, it has the right information and you've claimed that profile. So that's something else that we do as part of that package deal.
Gotcha. So there's your pricing package on the three. Pick what works for you guys and then take it from there. But connect with Max. I will repost his email here. Where did I post his email?
It's in the chat.
Yep, here it is. So there's Max's email. It's on there. Just click on that one and you can connect with him. Let's see here. Hey, James, how's this going? Still looking at, okay, no, that was an old comment. I forgot, scrolling the wrong way. So Jay Nova, that's what it would cost. Mike is asking, hey, same day next week. I guess what's the time frame?
For our show here?
Yeah, we do this every Wednesday. Now we did miss next Wednesday, or last Wednesday, but we'll be regular on the schedule every Wednesday, 12 o'clock.
Yep. And if we need to move that to make it better for you, so it's not at lunchtime, Luis, we can and let everybody know that. But
no, I'm good. I don't need to eat, man. I'm a machine. Man, eating is for wusses. No, I am a machine. No, in fact, I'm starving, bro. I gotta roll. Yeah. No. My wife was like, I told her we're gonna go eat lunch, and she's giving me the eyeball. But hey, guys, I want to thank you all for hanging in there with us. Hopefully, you saw the importance of SEO, AEO. Ultimately, we want to leverage the websites so we get people going to them and filling out a form that we collect some data and possibly sell insurance to. That's the ultimate goal, guys.
Right.
So,
and if you're doing that already, my ask of everybody is get on it. Get on it. Get on it. Get on that lead as quickly as possible. We'll do some research or an episode on that too, because there's research that shows a lead that you collect, you don't get back to, within the first hour, bare minimum, typically within the first 15 minutes. And I'll bring the statistics on that just to, if you're not going to do it yourself at your agency, if you're, you have somebody else that can, or we didn't get into this, but Agent CRM has a way to get back to them automatically. And Luis can talk about that in a future episode. But thank you for the opportunity, Luis.
Yep. Sounds good, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry for being late today, guys. And again, thank you. Follow up next week. And if you're watching this and it's not live, post your comments. I do check. And if are we going to have a PDF or something to share with them?
We do. Yep. You have that in our shared drive. You can put that up.
Yep. Perfect. So I would load that into the description down below, guys. So down below, click on the description and you'll see a link there and you'll be able to download a PDF that Max has created and hopefully you'll get something out of it.
Right.
Max,
you can send Luis or myself an email about suggestions for future episodes that you'd like to know more about, and we'll build it and do it for you live.
Yeah, I think we just added 3 or 4 episodes with what we mentioned right now. So
we did.
Let's keep going because you know what? There's so many things with tech that we could talk about, and we're just going to keep this going. But if you want us to talk about something, definitely post down below. Hey, why don't you guys talk about this? And what I'll do is I'll get that to Max, and because some of this tech stuff, I'm an agent like you all, but we'll go to the expert on that one. All right, guys, I've got to roll. Thank you guys so much for today. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.